Hi, my name is Amanda Weston. Thank you for all having me here today. I'd like to, before I begin, start off by telling you about my cousin who at the age of 17 told his parents that he was in a relationship with a male. His parents kicked him out of the house because they disagreed with the fact of his choice of lifestyle and thought that it was morally incorrect. And from then on, he has been marginalized since by them. A few verses I want to share here today, which are in 1 Corinthians 13, 2-3, that state, "If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but have not loved, I am only a resounding gong, or to men and angels, but have not loved. If I have the gift of prophecy that can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains, but have not loved, I gain nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and surrender my body to the flames, but have not loved, I am nothing." In 1 Corinthians 13:13 states that, "And now these three remain, faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of these is love. Love does not go hand in hand with discriminating against one's own sexuality." In this speech, I will argue that Proposition 8 is unconstitutional, and first, I argue that banning same-sex marriage is a direct violation of the Constitution, along with upholding Judge Walker. Second, I will argue that upholding Judge Van Walker's is the best way to ensure the benefits for the LGBT community. And third, I will argue that marriage is not traditionally a union between one man and one woman. Now I will argue that banning same-sex marriage is a direct violation of the Constitution. In the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States, that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment or religion or practicing exercise there. This is the idea between the separation of the church and the state, which is due to the fact that we have so many religions in America and freedom of religion, in which we have to make this distinction between the two. The problem we have here is that homosexuals' right to marriage is at risk due to the tyranny of the majority, which is a large majority group taking away the rights of a minority group. Examples of this happening in history has been done to African Americans, women, us Christians, and now homosexuals are the minority group in which are being discriminated against. In Article 7 of the preamble, it states that all are entitled to equal protection against any discrimination. In which the problem we have here is that by placing homosexuals in this minority group, we run the risk of the roles in reverse. And would it be fair if the majority of non-Christians decided to form a tyranny of majority against the practice of our faith because they believe that it was against or contrary to what they believe in? And if we're going to claim that homosexuals do not deserve the right to marry because of the fact that we believe it's morally incorrect, runs the risk of this happening, this in reverse to us. Basically, to sum up my argument, that homosexuals are human beings who deserve the right to get married. And now that I argued why banning same-sex marriage is a direct violation of the Constitution, I will now argue that upholding Judge Van Walker's decision is the best way to ensure rights for the LGBT community. In the Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender Community Center was established in 1983 and is the leading organization on the East Coast and the second LGBT center in the whole entire world. According to Mara Dolan, a reporter of LA Times in 2010, states that Judge Van Walker stated to the notion of people getting married and to obtaining benefits of a marital relationship without regards to gender is an idea whose time has come and is becoming ever more widely accepted and eventually will become the outcome. In which Van Walker, in a ruling, Van Walker struck down Proposition 8 as unconstitutional due to a violation of constitutional guarantees of the equal protection due to process. In this, Peggy Pearson of History News Network 2010 states that we are in the midst of categorizing a discrimination against the fundamental bedrock of marital law. In this, Peggy Pearson argues that many of the same arguments white supremacists use to justify miseducation laws are similar to those who oppose same-sex marriage, in which that interracial marriages is somehow contrary to God's will or unnatural. In which this is very scary, because if we are using many of the same arguments that were used to justify in a time of huge discrimination, this is scary that we as Christians are doing this. In which the 14th Amendment, the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment, is used by many supporters of same-sex marriage because it declared miseducation laws unconstitutional in the case of Loving versus Virginia. And in this, the solution to this is to allow homosexuals their right to marry, because then we get rid of the risk of the tyranny of majority against us. And we know that there are many people suffering in this world, and we are only adding to that suffering by taking away the rights of homosexuals' right to marry and indiscriminating against them. Now that I argued why upholding Judge Walker's decision is the best way to ensure rights, I will now argue that marriage is not traditionally a union between one man and one woman. According to Andrea Leahy, president of Traditional Value Correlation, founded in 1980, states that we believe homosexual behavior is explicitly condemned in both the Old and New Testament, and is a violation and abomination of God's standards to sexuality. I know that this is your guys' main argument, in which I want to bring up the fact that marriage is a union between two people that is seen by the government in which you obtain benefits from. And is why I want to bring up polygamy, which was used during the time of the Bible, and was used by King Solomon in 1 Kings chapter 11, where he had many wives. And I bring this point up because of the fact that cultural norms have changed, and what was accepted in the time of the Bible, polygamy is not accepted now. And my main point is that if we are going to focus in on homosexuality and use the argument that it is condemned in the Bible, we would have to look at all the rights and wrongs in the Bible and in the time of the culture in the Bible to put that into our law now. And this is why we have the separation of the church and state due to this fact. We are dealing with the main issue that homosexuals are human beings who deserve the right to get married and to be together in the form of law with the title of being married. Now that I argued why marriage is not traditionally a union between one man and one woman, in conclusion to all of this, I would like to say that as followers of Christ, our job is to love one another. We are not loving people by discriminating against them and banning their rights to marry. In this speech, I argued that Proposition 8 is unconstitutional. I argued that banning same-sex marriage is a direct violation of the Constitution, and upholding Judge Walker's decision is the best way to ensure rights for the LGBT community. And finally, I hope you remember in the last part of 1 Corinthians 13:13 that says that the greatest of these is love, and I hope you remember what my cousin went through on account of being kicked out and marginalized just because of his sexuality.